So a couple of weeks ago, a lot of attention was brought on Donald Trump by some conservatives who thought that he said some pretty unacceptable things about Israel. In an interview with the Associated Press on December 2nd, Trump was talking about what he would do to try to negotiate a peace deal between the Israeli government and the Palestinian National Authority. And he said, quote, "I have a real question as to whether both sides want to make it." But then Trump said that his concerns are greater regarding, quote, one side in particular, referring to Israel. Then he said, quote, "A lot will have to do with Israel and whether or not Israel wants to make the deal. Whether or not Israel's willing to sacrifice certain things. They may not be, and I understand that, and I'm okay with that. But then you're just not going to have a deal." So apparently this was such a radical anti-Israeli comment, oh my god, that the next day Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio responded to it by saying, quote, "Some in our own party have actually called for more sacrifice from the Israeli people. They are dead wrong. This is not a real estate deal where the two sides argue over money." The problem is, Trump didn't call for sacrifice from the Israeli people. He said that Israel would have to make some sacrifices if they wanted to have a peace deal because, that's generally how deals work. Each side has to make some sacrifices. They have to compromise things. You don't just force a deal down someone's throats under your conditions only. That's not how a deal works. But he said he was okay if they didn't make the deal because he thought that the Israelis might have to compromise too much of their security interests, implying that he thinks, the Palestinians might not be a viable negotiating partner. They might ask too much of the Israelis. So Trump loves Israel. He loves their hawkish policy. He's fine with the occupation of the Gaza Strip. He's fine with the occupation of the West Bank. So why is this a problem at all? Oh, because the idea of saying that in a deal Israel's gonna have to sacrifice some things means that, oh, you're an anti-Zionist, Antifada, you support Antifada. Yeah, right, the deal has to be that Israel sacrifices nothing, Palestine sacrifices everything. If you don't support that deal, might as well be a Nazi. The next unacceptable thing that Trump said about Israel, he said the next day at a speech he gave to the Republican Jewish Coalition on December 3rd, where he said he wasn't sure of his position on Jerusalem being the capital of Israel. Let's watch.
Can I at least try and pin you down on Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, is that a position you support?
You know what I want to do? I want to wait till I meet with Bibi. I'm leaving for Israel in a very short period of time. I know what you're saying. You're not going to be, who's the wise guy?
Oh my god, he's not sure if Jerusalem should be the capital of Israel? What, might be a universal city or something like that? Or, oh my god, well, you might as well just join Hamas, right? And now comes the ironic and extremely depressing part of this video. So Trump is clearly a staunch supporter of Israel before he said it's okay if they don't want to make a peace deal at all. In the same speech that he got blasted on for not knowing his position on Jerusalem being the capital of Israel, he said this.
Well, by the way, Israel has given a lot.
They have.
And a lot of people don't know that. I think the public relations for Israel hasn't been so great because Israel's given a lot, but hasn't been given a lot of credit for what they've given.
And this.
In fact, some things have been given which were unthinkable.
In that same speech where he got blasted for his unacceptable position that Israel might have to make some compromises in order to have a peace deal, he made blatantly anti-Semitic remarks to the Jewish crowd he's speaking to. He's speaking to the Republican Jewish Coalition. They're Republican Jews he's speaking to. And no one said a thing about it. Let's start with the first comment he made.
But we have virtually no money invested in ads or advertising. And I think you as business people will feel pretty good about this.
So the comment there seems a little out of place, but hey, maybe it makes sense, He's speaking to a crowd of Republicans. Republicans are known for supporting business, Republicans are all about free enterprises, stuff like that. So maybe he's just referring to the crowd as business people because they're Republicans, not because they're Jews. But that's not it. Let's continue with the rest of what he said.
Yeah, look, I'm a negotiator like you folks. We're negotiators.
Whoa, wait. So, speaking to his all-Jewish crowd, he refers to them collectively as negotiators. See, before the business people, that could have made sense. Republicans can be stereotyped as business people, but not as negotiators. What group is there a stereotype for being negotiators? Oh yeah, Jews. Clearly a blatantly anti-Semitic stereotype that he's using here. Keep in mind, anti-Semitic stereotypes have led to some pretty nasty things too, and the audience doesn't say anything. But that's not it, because it gets worse.
Do you want to renegotiate deals? Some of us renegotiate deals. I would say about 99.9. Is there anybody that doesn't renegotiate deals in this room? This room negotiates perhaps more than any room I've ever spoken to.
Okay, before, I had like a 99.9% feeling that his remarks were charged by Jewish stereotypes, but now I'm literally 100% sure. If his negotiator remark were just directed at Republicans, then why would this be the most negotiator-filled room he's ever spoken to before? I mean, this room's full of Republicans, but he's spoken to rooms also full of Republicans in the past. Why this room? Why single out this room as the room most full of negotiators he's ever been in before? Oh yeah, because there's a bunch of Jews in the room. But the next comment he makes just is unbelievable. Let's watch.
You're not going to support me, even though you know I'm the best thing that could ever happen to Israel, and I'll be that. And I know why you're not going to support me, and you're not going to support me because I don't want your money. If I wanted your money, I think I'd have a damn good chance, and I think I'd get more money than anybody else.
So, Trump giving this speech to room full of Republican Jews, the Republican Jewish Coalition, directly calls everyone in the audience money-grubbing negotiators. And it's not like he's calling anyone else money-grubbing negotiators. As he said, this is the room most full of negotiators he's ever been in before. He's clearly just singling out these people, and yet he gets no criticism. None. Nothing. From anyone in the audience, no one in the Republican Jewish community, no one in the media. The Atlantic briefly mentioned it. Think Progress wrote an article about it. The Young Turks made a video about it. That's actually where I found out about all this. Times of Israel did actually a pretty extensive article on it. But no criticism from other candidates, no criticism from the media, nothing. But the second he says that Israel might have to compromise for a deal, a peace deal, after he says that they don't have to because it might compromise too much, oh, that's just unacceptable. Why don't you just join the Antifada? Why don't you just go to Hamas or Hezbollah or something, you freaking terrorist? What's wrong with you? Isn't it screwed up that Marco Rubio, who criticized Trump for his statements on Israel, and the Republican Jewish Coalition, who are, champions for the Israeli state, anything that Israel does, we hate you if you criticize the slightest thing about Israel, and obviously the protection of the Jewish people with that, or at least they claim to be, are such hawks for Israel, are so opposed to any criticism about Israel that they'll go after someone for saying that Israel might have to compromise sometimes more than they'll go after someone who is blatantly anti-Semitic. And to be fair to Rubio, he might not have heard about Trump's anti-Semitic comments, because it's not like the Republican Jewish Coalition, the people who are being directly stereotyped as Trump was talking to them, or any other major media outlet covered this story. This is just pathetic. It shows the state of affairs in politics right now, and it really shows how some really hawkish pro-Israel people actually stand when it comes to anti-Semitism. And I hope this video can get out to as many people as possible, because this is not a well-publicized story, and it'd be good for people to know that not only is Trump xenophobic towards Mexicans and Muslims, he's also quite the Jew basher. What's even crazier than that is that the segment of the Republican Party, and in fact not just the Republican Party, the segment of voters from independents and even some Democrats who support Trump because, quote, oh, he speaks his mind, even though it's completely racist and reactionary, and now we know how these people really think. It's crazy that that segment is so huge. And what I think is scarier than that is that if the media weren't totally based around trying to get attention, money, and stuff like that, I think that if this was publicized, Trump supporters would support him even more, because this just reinforces his image as he's speaking his mind, because that's the reason his supporters like him in the first place, because he speaks his mind. So I really think that if this was publicized, it wouldn't actually hurt him at all. It would help him, if anything, and that's scary. So thanks for watching, guys. It was my first real video. I'm going to be doing a lot more, probably at least 1 or 2 a week. So yeah, tune in for more videos, guys. Progressive Thinker here.